Good evening. I call this regular meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. We will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Rodriguez.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Rodriguez. Ms. Adrian, please call the roll.
Yes. Commissioner Cabot,
Present.
Commissioner Wong, Commissioner Rodriguez, Vice Chair Barantes,
Present.
Chair Duong.
Present. Now we will move to approve the agenda order. Are there any objections to the agenda order? If there is, oh, sorry, if that was the question. Are there any objections? Okay, hearing none, the agenda order is approved. Next, we're moving on to a few announcements by Community Services Assistant Director, Matthew Morales-Stevens.
Thank you. Tonight's meeting is live streamed on Cable Channel 3 and our online platforms. If you wish to address the Community Services Commission during tonight's meeting, we request that you please complete a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk, Adrian Franquez. When speaking, please state your name for the record. If you wish to be added to the distribution list or receive Community Services Commission agendas, please email your request to cscommission@sgch.org.
This is the time set aside for members of the public to address the Community Services Commission on items of interest that are not on the agenda but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the Community Services Commission cannot answer any questions or take any action until such time as the matter may appear as an item on a future agenda. Adrian, do we have any public comments for tonight's meeting?
We do not.
Next, we'll approve the minutes of last meeting. The minutes are a record of the official actions taken at the Community Services Commission regular meeting of May 5th, 2025. Matthew, do we have any public comments on the action item?
We do not.
The time for public comment on this item is now closed. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the Community Services Commission regular meeting of May 5th, 2025?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Ms. Adrian, would you like to take a vote?
Commissioner Cabot,
Aye.
Commissioner Wong,
Sorry. So if you're okay with approving the minutes from the May 5th meeting, you can either say yes or aye. If you have any objections, you can say no.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Barantes,
Aye.
Chair Duong.
Aye.
Motion passed by a vote of 5 ayes, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you. Next, we're moving on to really the meat of the agenda, which is the commission reorganization. The commission will now select the new chair and vice chair. Staff will provide a presentation on available options.
Thank you. So for the selection of chair and vice chair, it will be a fairly quick process, assuming it's just one person that is selected. There will be more steps if nominated. If there's multiple people nominated, we will go through the formal voting process. Either is fine, one will just take longer than the other. In terms of how you nominate a fellow commissioner, so I'm just going to pick random names. So let's say Commissioner Cabot, you wanted to nominate Commissioner Rodriguez to serve as chair. You would formally nominate him. You would have to accept the nomination, Commissioner Rodriguez, verbally, and then you would be added to our list. If you chose to decline, you could do so as well. Now, once that process happens if another person wants to nominate someone else, they certainly can. So if Vice Chair Barantes wanted to nominate Commissioner Huang to serve as chair, he certainly could do so. The way we will do that is we will take a vote on the first person that was nominated and then run, assuming there is not a majority on the first person, then we would move to the second person. Any questions on that process so far? Okay. So with that, we'll go through the selection of chair. Once we have selected the chair, then the new or continuing chair will continue the rest of the meeting and selection of vice chair. Okay? So now the floor is now open for nominations for the selection of chair. Are there any nominations for chair?
I would like to make a nomination for chair of the commissioner on my left, Commissioner Barantes, and for vice chair, Commissioner Rodriguez.
So we'll only do chair at this time.
Okay.
But I appreciate that. So I was confirming it was Commissioner Barantes who you were nominating, or Vice Chair Barantes for chair. Do you accept the nomination, Vice Chair Barantes?
Yes.
Are there any other additional nominations for Community Services Commission Chair?
I would like to nominate Cheryl, Ms. Corbett.
For chair? Okay. Do you accept the nomination?
Not at this time.
Okay. Are there any further nominations? Okay. All right. Hearing none, I close the floor to nominations and declare that now Chair Barantes is selected as chair by acclamation. Congratulations. We now turn the meeting over to you to conduct the remainder of the meeting and selection of vice chair. Yes, we sure did. We do not have any public comments, and so we will close public comments on this item. You certainly can. Thank you. Are you okay with that script?
Yeah, just making more.
Correct. So anything in yellow is you for the remainder of the meeting. Anything in purple is Adrian. All black. Plain flooring font, that's me. So you will see everything in yellow. So for the selection of chair, you'll read A and then no one else is not from the person's own meeting and let's get down to hearing that.
The floor is now open for nominations for the selection of vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Rodriguez for vice chair.
Commissioner Rodriguez has been nominated for vice chair. Are there any other nominations? Hearing,
I accept the nomination.
hearing none, I close the floor to nominations and declare that Commissioner Rodriguez is selected vice chair by acclamation. Congratulations, Vice Chair Rodriguez. So now do you guys switch?
Musical chair.
Hot potato. All right, so events and program updates. Staff to provide an update on the planning process for certain programs and events. Adrian, do we have any public comments on the discussion item?
We do not.
The time for public comment on this item is now closed. Move on to the discussion of work plan. Commission members to discuss the work plan and determine what.
Apologies. We'll just go through the staff report, if you're okay with that, Chair, for the events and programs updates before
yes.
we go
Go
to
ahead.
discussion of work plan. So for the events and programs updates, included in your agenda packet is the staff report for our senior programs. It's a really broad overview. We'll get into more detail at a future meeting. It should be all the way at the very back of your agenda packet. It's a very brief overview just to get the commission familiar. I realized in one of our staff meetings that that's one of our areas that we don't highlight very often with the commission because it is very self-sufficient. It's something that goes on in the background. It's not a special event, right, that everyone sees. It's a very specific population. But I would like to acknowledge both the staff and the people that keep coming back to the programming because it has grown significantly over the years, especially prior to the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, we had about, on a good day, 20, 25 people in our meal program. Now we serve about 60 to 65 on a regular day. And then on the special luncheons, we serve about 100. So that's taking up both the Padillo room and the Grapevine room. So staff have gotten creative as to how to kind of join those two rooms together to make a cohesive event for the meal program. And people seem to respond very well to that, so we'll continue with that larger platform for future luncheons. The majority of the programs are led by our part-time recreation specialist, Desiree Gomez. So she's been with the city. She started as a recreation leader and then a senior recreation leader and now is our part-time recreation specialist. So she's very familiar with the city. She has a strong passion for senior programming and loves to see the end result of the programming, and you can see it through the entire process. When she interacts with the seniors, she has that very bubbly personality that the seniors respond really well to. And it does take a very unique personality to work with that population. What I've found is people in recreation either love working with seniors or they just have zero desire to work with seniors. There's not a lot of in between. So that's usually one of the hardest roles outside of aquatics that is to fill because you really have to have the passion. Otherwise, the seniors are going to see that you don't care, and then therefore they don't care to attend your program. Some of the items that we offer I should say the majority of the items that we offer are free to the public. So it's completely free
Wow.
in terms of programming supplies and participation, so there's no fee to participate. And those include our walking club, social bingo, mahjong/game group, and our tech tutoring program. Our tech tutoring program is one of the ones that I'm most proud of because it kind of bridges the gap between our youth who volunteer their time in the program and our seniors. So it is a one-on-one appointment where a senior can bring in either their laptop or their cell phone and then kind of rattle off the list of questions that they might have. For example, if they need help trying to create a new contact in their phone, then the volunteer would help them with that. And it's very personalized, right? So it's not curriculum-based like a classroom setting would be. It's specific to what they need help with because a lot of the seniors aren't looking to do, the next biggest, best thing with their tech. They're just looking for the basics. And so when you can do that one-on-one, it's much more impactful than in a class setting for those purposes. In terms of services, we have our Ride SG Plus, which I've mentioned before. With the new parameters, they can access anywhere, curb-to-curb service anywhere within the city of San Gabriel. And then between the city of San Gabriel boundary and up to 3 miles, it's for medical appointments, and then 6 select shopping centers. And within those, it's anything from Alhambra Place, which has Sprouts, and then restaurants, and a couple of other essential items. And then there's another one in Temple City, which I'm trying to think of what it's off of. Anyways, I can provide a more comprehensive list. I apologize.
Rosemead Boulevard.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And so that has a variety of things. I think the smallest center is actually Alhambra Place. The other ones that we've provided are much larger. So if the seniors wanted to, it could be a very easy one-stop shop for them. Let's see. The listing that I provided are all the dates and times that the programs have. Throughout the next year, we'll start highlighting some of these programs as they come up, or the special luncheons as they come up, and provide some data behind those as well. But typically with the senior programs, if they are not doing well, we remove them. If they are doing well in terms of participation, then we will continue doing it, and/or adding new components to keep it fresh and vibrant. I think a good example of that is the social bingo program, which is the third bullet point down. That meets the third Thursday of the month from 1 to 2. We've seen some dips in participation during December and January, so we just simply removed the December, January, but kept all of the other months. So we really want to make sure that it's the best return on the investment for the city as well as the seniors, because it's no fun to sit in a social bingo program for 3 people compared to a group of 25. It doesn't have that same purpose behind it. The daily nutrition program, I will note, is provided by YWCA of the San Gabriel Valley. So that is free of charge to seniors. They do ask for a $3 suggested donation, but I would say the majority of our seniors don't provide that, and because they know that they don't have to. And so that's something that the YWCA prides themselves on, is being able to provide this to some of our most vulnerable residents. So it's anyone 62 years of age and older. If you are under 62, you can attend the program. You would just have to pay a mandatory $50, that would be an expensive meal, $5 for the meal. I added a 0 in there. That made a big difference. So that's held Monday through Friday over at the Adult Recreation Center. And then we partner with the YWCA for the special luncheons, and those are usually theme-based. And then, as I mentioned, those are about 100 people in attendance for those in the more recent ones. The Quilt with Friends and the Art Workshop are all volunteer-based as well. So the Art Workshop has 2 key individuals that organize the group, are the main hub for communication. So if we need to cancel the group for any reason, they're the ones that disseminate that information. They help with a lot of the teaching as well. So if you ever have time to stop by at the Friday art group, I would encourage you to do so. You'll notice that it's not what I could do, which is stick figures, if that. It's very extravagant designs that they are doing. Most of them do watercolor, but there are other mediums being practiced on those Fridays as well. So I know when I started with the city, I think less than half of these programs existed. So over the last 7 years, staff have really grown the programs, and the Adult Recreation Center is much more vibrant than it has ever been, and we're hoping to grow this momentum. So if you have any ideas for senior programs or senior offerings, we're happy to hear them, but this is what we currently have.
Do we know what the percentage is? Since you said it's open to the public, what's the majority? Is it residents, non-residents? Do we know that?
For the meal program?
For any of these
For any of
programs,
them?
or-
The majority of our
majority.
programs are resident-based.
Okay.
Yeah, and most of them, the exception would be the meal program. I would say we have more residents now than we did a year or 2 ago. Usually when we have the fish day is when we get the most Alhambra residents, because if I'm not mistaken, the last change that they made is to go to all American meals, whereas we have a mixture of both what they call Asian meals and American
Okay.
meals. With our demographic, it doesn't make sense to go to all American meals. When Alhambra made that call, that then pushes a lot of those people to our center, since the Jocelyn Center and the Adult Rec Center are so close in proximity. It's very easy for people to make the change on those days. So that's where we get the biggest impact of non-residents.
Sorry, I have a couple questions. I'm assuming that the Mahjong and Friends must be very popular because you have it on 4 days. Is that a real popular one?
Yes. It is primarily, even though it's called Mahjong and Friends, it's a large bridge group that plays on those
It's
days.
a large what?
Bridge.
Oh, bridge.
Yes. So they're the Friends
That's a
part.
leap from Mahjong, isn't it?
It is. So it's a very different game, but there's a table or 2 that comes in and does Mahjong as well.
Well, the whole point is just to get together and socialize.
Yes.
The other question is, when you say special luncheons, is that like for holiday luncheons or
Correct.
things? Okay. And one more question, technology tutoring, you said you had some youth volunteers for that, is that right?
That's correct.
Oh, that's great. Now, are they consistently volunteering then, or? No.
Though they usually come in waves. Usually they stay a few months, and then we have to find a new set of volunteers. I've run the program in another city, and it's pretty common for them to do that. They, with the high school volunteers, it's typically they meet their hour criteria for their high school, and then they move on. Desiree has actually been very successful in getting college students.
Oh, wow.
And/or people who are just looking to volunteer, people are in their early 20s, they have a little extra time on their hands, and they're wanting to give back to the community. And so that's proven to be a bit more of a reliable source of
I would
volunteer service.
suppose the younger kids get bored of it very quickly. That's the thing. Okay. Oh, and the art workshop. Now, were those the ones that had the art show here a couple months ago?
That is correct.
That was so impressive.
Yes.
My goodness. They don't, yeah, you're right. It's not just stick figures. It's pretty impressive art.
Yes.
I hope they're going to do that again. I think they should.
Yes,
Just
it's on
do
the
it.
docket to do it again next year.
Yeah, because that was very impressive. But it needs to be advertised more, I believe.
Agreed.
Don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you for all those questions. I think the one that I wanted to ask was about the microtransit options.
Yes.
And though I know that we expanded that at some point this year. I
Yes.
don't know if it has already happened or if that's in the works, but how has that gone? So, before there were bottlenecks, around rush hours when most people would use that service.
Yes.
Plus I think there was a new technology that was in place, and maybe there's a new vendor as well who's running the show. So just how is that new rollout happening?
Sure. So that's a very timely question.
Yeah.
So we just wrapped up our RFP process. The item goes to council June 17th, so the second meeting in June, so of this month. And that will be the selection of the either new or continuing vendor for the actual drivers, maintenance, and they actually contract out RideCo, which is the app portion. And so that contract would start July 1. In terms of your question for the changes, so those went into effect January 1st. So that was the increase in vehicle hours, for those of you that are not familiar with it, increase in vehicle hours, and then a decrease in service area for our RideSG Plus customers from 5 miles for any purpose down to 3 miles for medical appointments and the select shopping locations that I mentioned earlier, and then anywhere within the city of San Gabriel. So there was that decrease there. Excuse me. But what we've seen is that almost every ride is on time. When you want to book a ride, you can get a ride.
Great.
And so those failed searches have gone down drastically. We have seen a small decrease in RideSG Plus passengers per day, but we've seen almost 4 times the amount of daily general passengers, which would be anyone who's just trying to travel within the city of San Gabriel. So you could be going from the Sheraton to the Adult Recreation Center. You don't have to live in the city of San Gabriel as long as you download the app, create an account. You can go anywhere within the city as long as it starts and stops in the city. So we've seen an overall positive change since those changes. The general passengers have seen a pleasant change. I will say it's been a kind of a rocky transition for our RideSG Plus customers, right? But we've been doing our best to help kind of navigate that and help them find alternatives when possible, right? So if they were used to going to one shopping center, how can we get you what you need at this shopping center that is approved? So there's also our number of shared rides have gone up, which was the whole goal. I think I mentioned the failed searches have gone drastically down. On-time performance has gone way up. I think that was the number one complaint I received in December was on-time performance and rides getting canceled. I haven't received a single complaint since we made the change.
Fantastic.
So there's still some room for growth. So eventually we'll reach that again. So that could be a year, it could be 2, it could be 3 years from there where we'll need to add vehicle hours eventually again. But right now, our demand has not reached the number of vehicle hours, which is really what we want to keep.
Thank you.
Just some suggestions on the programs. One is the technology tutoring. I'm thinking if we will still continue with a youth program, maybe it's one thing that they can assist on in making sure that, hey, you guys have an opportunity to help the seniors just come over teach them how to add some apps, you know. That's one. And then for the art workshop, have we ever featured them, for example, like in the cover of this cover? You know what I mean?
I don't know that we have, and that would be a great opportunity.
Yeah, because I think that'll be really good marketing, and now they'd be like, oh, I want to join, maybe I could be featured there, so.
Doing social media too.
Yeah, even on the posts.
Thank you.
All right, so now I will go on to the discussion of work plan. Commission members to discuss the work plan and determine what items could be added or removed. Adrian, do we have any public comments on the discussion item?
We do not.
Is that we do?
We do not.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I was like, the time for public comment on this item is now closed.
And if you're okay with it, Chair Barantes, I'll lead the commission into the discussion, and then I'll turn it back over to you if you're okay with that.
That's fine.
Okay. And, I apologize. Somehow it did not make it into the agenda packet, which actually, well, anyways. So I apologize. It did not make it into the agenda packet for you to review. However, my suggestion was going to be to not review the annual work plan either way. My recommendation to the commission is to go through what the new work plan looks like for our new commissioners, and then provide some kind of direction as far as what it could look like moving forward. So if you are all okay with that, I'll continue. Yeah, okay. I'm seeing some nods, so I'll. Oh, it is, okay. Maybe I looked it over. Thank you.
Yeah.
Look at me. Okay. I'm the one that added it in there, so apparently I can't find my own documents. Apologies.
Just a comment. I think that's a good idea. Maybe also to add to that, because this will be a good framework to have a good understanding of how we can create the work plan. I'm just thinking if we would just go from scratch, it might just take longer. You know what I mean? But maybe, I don't know if, do we have time that we can actually go through the whole thing right now, or how would the process be?
Yeah, you certainly can go through it now. What I would recommend is that we kind of debrief the two new commissioners on what the work plan looks like, so they have a better idea as to how they could contribute to the work plan or what their ideas might be. And then we can compile a list of some of the items, even either at the next meeting, or if there's items that you think of leading up to the next meeting, I can make those revisions prior to the work plan, prior to the next meeting on the document. Yeah, my only reservation would be, jumping in too soon might change the perspective a little bit. Okay, so for the new commissioners and for Commissioner Cabot returning, the work plan looks a little bit different than it did before. So it is no longer an annual work plan in the fact that it is not something that needs to be done, reviewed and revised and approved on an annual basis. It's ongoing. Yep. So if there is something that you feel is pressing that should be added onto the commission or the commission work plan, then you can bring that up at one of the commission meetings during that agenda item. And then the rest of the commission, of course, would need to, the majority of the commission would need to agree. And then I would add it onto the commission or the work plan at that time. In terms of removing items, that would be the same. The majority of the commission would need to agree to remove it from the work plan. As you work through the work plan, I will now be notating the items that are on the current work plan, your next steps, and completed tasks. That way you can keep track of all the progress that you have made, instead of me just removing it and then you forget, if you're like me, you forget what you've already accomplished and you need someone to jog your memory. So that's how the new work plan is moving forward. In terms of the discussion tonight, I would say if there's any initial thoughts of, we don't like this layout, if there's something glaring that you don't love or you think needs to be changed, now would be the time for that. Otherwise, we would bring the same work plan back to the next commission meeting, and then I would ask that each commissioner brings back 2 or 3 items that you feel should be added to the agenda, and then we will come back at the meeting following that with the complete update for your approval, and then you'll start working on it at that point.
Okay, I have a couple questions, because I don't obviously know what you've been doing with this. Looking at this, it says completed tasks. Were those things that were actually completed in the last work plan? Okay.
Correct.
That's pretty impressive. And then, because it isn't that huge. I mean, I thought it'd be, when we did it, it was
Yes.
enormous.
Yes.
So have you, on the current work plan, have you discussed it and kind of decided who's going to do what on this already, or is that what we want to do in the upcoming meetings?
Yeah, so this work plan operated a little bit differently. So there were some tasks that were either better suited with certain individuals, or it was,
Right.
for lack of a better term, their passion project.
Right.
I think one example was provide new programs for residents within the age group 13 to 18 and 30 to 50. I think both Commissioner Vice Chair Rodriguez and Chair Barantes had 2 different ends of the spectrum. Actually, let's see, 1B, explore program offerings for persons with disabilities, including but not limited to swim classes. So Chair Barantes has taken a lead on that,
Yeah.
in communicating with both Andy Shoup and myself, and then Commissioner Rodriguez has done a great job with 1A. But collectively, everyone has come up with items like Commissioner Dong has brought forward the need to bring. It ties in with 2A of how can we better serve the South San Gabriel population as well. And so, maybe for that 13 to 18 age group, maybe putting those programmings at Marshall has come up. So those are the discussions that have been had. We've been using these more as the more resources you can provide staff, the better we can serve the community.
Exactly.
Instead of, putting all the pressure back to the commission to develop and create a program on your own. That's our job. So, I think Chair Barante's feedback, especially with the adaptive swim classes that we're implementing in the summer, has been extremely helpful, and having firsthand knowledge has been helpful. So a former commissioner mentioned it doesn't feel like we're making as much of an impact, but that type of feedback directly from someone who has both perspectives, both kind of sitting on the dais and as a resident, is more beneficial than me looking something up online.
So what you're saying is the commissioners are working hand in hand with your staff?
Correct.
To give them ideas. Well, that's a great idea. Like you said, instead of dumping it on you. So at some point, do we get some input on what they have accomplished in these areas?
Yes. And I think that's the major change since the previous time that you served on the commission. We provide the commission a bit more data, whether it's quantitative or qualitative. And we as staff are trying to do better at making it more consistent as well.
Yeah, just so we know what you've already accomplished, because what you completed is very impressive. Okay.
Actually, along the lines of what Commissioner Chavez was talking about in terms of a completed task, are we pulling some of those completed tasks and putting it back on the work plan for 2025? For instance, we had talked about renewing the Teen Ambassador Program. I know our 2 Teen Ambassadors didn't show up today. I think there might have been some miscommunication about that. But so that's item number 5, for instance, commission to develop a youth ambassador program. So do we push that back then onto the current work plan and
Yeah.
next steps?
Yeah, and I
So,
can make a note that you've already had 2 serve a 1 6-month term, but then put a new section under current work plan.
Okay, great. So some of these things, like the RFP, obviously that just falls off the agenda because that's completed, yay. But other things like partnering and collaborating with various cultural interfaith organizations, would that be pushed back also to the work plan then? Because it was completed last year, but do we want to renew and rethink and, do more in that space?
That one would be totally up to the commission if that's something that you want to prioritize for this year or not.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I think that the current work plan format is effective because it makes us pivot at any given point that we need to. It's a really good start for an outline. Since now we are at a transition point, we can use this opportunity to actually revisit what we're trying to focus on. So I would say, and I'd suggest, maybe if there is a way for us to look at current issues and pain points and objectives of the team, and then that's where what we can address and we move forward. You know what I mean? Because we can come up with anything right now, but if it's not addressing what needs to be addressed, we're not really hitting anything we're not making an impact, right? So, for example, let's say we have this work plan on the senior programs. If we will have a good format of understanding which ones are performing well and which ones aren't, and we'll be keeping a track of it, and then we can keep adding better suggestions, or we can help decide, oh, looks like that one isn't really working, so what do you guys think? Do we help, for example, maybe just needed marketing? Okay, then we push it. If not, maybe we suggest to just look for a replacement, you know what I mean? But the actual thought process of tackling the projects is for us to look at first what we need to address, and then that's what we put in as the framework of what we will be focusing on in the work plan. And that's just a suggestion. I don't know if you guys would, what do you guys think?
Just to clarify, are you suggesting that we should have on the work plan an item to have a way to evaluate which programs are effective?
Yes, and that would be like phase 2. But for example, right now that we're thinking of, hey, would we proceed with this work plan, or would we want to come up with a new focused work plan? Maybe one of the things that we can have for the next meeting is what are the challenges that we can address or that they need to? And then that's where we can start working on the work plan. Because, for example, we can keep suggesting good programs, but one of the issues that they're facing, for example, is resources. So even if we have really good programs, but they don't have manpower for it, we're not really, we're just giving them more of a burden than we're actually helping the team, right? So maybe we can take this time to really understand what we have here right now. And like, for example, this as a start is a really good format. And then for the next meeting, maybe one of the things that we can start looking into is what are the pain points and issues and problems that we can address. And that's where we can now start forming our work plan. Right, what do you guys think?
I agree. I like how the format is right now. It helps us focus more on smaller things, because when we had the other one before, it was too many things going on, too much. So this way we can knock things out slowly but surely and slowly add on if we want. But I think your example with the programs, that's, it kind of seems like Matthew has a good idea on what works, what doesn't. So I don't know. That kind of seems we're going to take it on specifically.
Oh, like doubling up.
Yeah, I mean, we can hear his suggestions and, whatnot, how it's performing. I mean, if we can get those metrics for the programs and, kind of get more insights on them. But I don't know, I kind of feel like specifically how he said December, January months for this program are not good, so we just take it off. So I feel like he might already have the knowledge, but I mean, I don't mind looking at it once we look at the numbers and everything.
But I think this is good because now we're already looking at, this is our process, this is what we're doing, and this is what they're doing, we can already see certain gaps in there, which is, for example, one of the things in the work plan was to look for new programs for certain age ranges, right? And we can either tie it up to what system they already have, or, and this is now us just veering it into what's currently working for them, right? But I totally understand that, so we don't really double up on any efforts that they're already doing.
Well, I agree with Davis. The work plan we did a couple years ago, which was the genesis of this, was just way too much. It was way, way too much. And partly because the person who started it liked doing that sort of thing. And I'm not criticizing that fact, but it was really more than we needed. This outline is much more reasonable and practical, and that way we can focus on a few things that we feel really need to be done and addressed instead of just not doing any of it very well. And I like this idea of this. These are good bones for the work plan. And as they suggested, just use this as a starting and then add on to it. But again, I don't want to see something that's just huge again, because then we don't get anything done. If we keep it smaller and more focused, then we can do a better job of a few things.
So I agree with your suggestion, which is let's revisit the work plan at the next meeting on July 7th, I believe, after the July 4th event in the city. And we can all put in our 2 cents about what items should be moved into the current work plan for 2025, 2026.
Commission reports. Each commissioner may address the Community Services Commission and public on matters of general information and/or concern. This is also time for commissioners to report on conferences and/or meetings they have attended. Commissioner Cabot?
I do not have anything to report.
Commissioner Huang? Commissioner Dong?
No reports from me. Thank you.
Vice Chair Rodriguez?
I went to the play day, and it was fun. My kids had fun. We just biked to the place, actually. I think we could have had more people, but from the start of the morning, it was already really gloomy and cloudy. So, and even when we were biking on the way, it was already kind of drizzly. It was kind of drizzling, so I didn't understand why there weren't that much people. But even with that kind of weather, I was kind of impressed with the turnout. It was very lively. I liked and I liked how it was laid out. Yeah, maybe we just have to have a better luck with the weather next time. But but it was good.
And Chair Barantes, I guess me. No, I don't have anything. The only thing I wanted to bring up was the, again, the post that was supposed to go for the school bus. I don't know if I missed it, but I don't recall seeing anything.
I'll follow up again. Apologies.
I mean, I guess at this point, well, summer school starts, but the school is pretty much ending, but yeah, I didn't see anything, so.
Sure.
Did I do any events? No, well, that's all I had. Staff comments? Staff members have the opportunity to address the commission and public on matters of general information and/or concern. Do we have any staff comments?
We just have a few comments. So the staff collectively, all of our program staff, so likely the 2 coordinators and 2 supervisors will be here at the October meeting to give a full summer recap on their individual programs or events that they're overseeing. We were planning on doing it in September, but there will not be a September commission meeting because of the Labor Day holiday. It would have been September 1st. So you can already skip that date on your calendar. So our last summer meeting will be in August, and then we'll meet again in October. So at that time, we'll go over the Summer in San Gabriel series, our day camp program, our summer person mission program, so all of that good stuff. You'll get all at one overwhelming time. So feel free to ask any of your questions at that time, or of course, if you have something that you think we can work on as we're going through the summer, feel free to bring that to my attention if you feel like it needs to be done at that time. Otherwise, if it's a more broad thing, we can certainly address it during the commission meeting as well. In terms of Independence Day celebration, that is scheduled, as I've mentioned, for July 3rd from 5:30 to 9:30. The band is already booked. They're called Those Guys.
Those guys, nice.
Yeah, so they're the main show, if you will, and they're an hour and a half long. There will be an 18-minute drone, laser, and light show, which starts promptly at 9 o'clock. The welcome ceremony will start at about 8:30, so just before the drone show. So it'll be welcome ceremony that will bleed basically right into the drone show. Other than that, there will be the food trucks that we had last year, community booths, games and crafts, and so we're anticipating a bigger turnout than last year just because people know about it now. But for those that, as we mentioned last year, that didn't meet the cutoff of 8, I think it was 8:45 last year, but it's 8:40 this year. Everyone needs to be admitted whether or not they have a ticket. They need to be in line and or enter by 8:40. We may push that back if there's no one in line at 8:40, then we can let a few people in if we haven't met capacity. But I would plan that the cutoff is a strict 8:40, because based off of what we had last year, there was a large rush of people at the very end. So the more people we can communicate that to, get in well before 8:30, get situated, find your spot on the grass, we would encourage them to do so. Otherwise, the people that were on the street could still see the drone show without any issues as well.
Same parking for the drone show as well?
Correct.
Parking lots?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, there's one, the church parking lot is still pending, but so far it doesn't look like there's any major issues with that. But that will all be on the website once that's confirmed. The ticketing will be through Civic Rec this year. So last year we did it through Audience View, which is the ticketing system through Mission Playhouse. But unfortunately, we get charged $1.70 to use that system. So as much as that system is fantastic for ticketing, for a free event, we don't want to pay $1.70 per ticket. So we will be using Civic Rec, which we already pay for, and there's no additional cost for the ticketing. So it will be a little bit more cumbersome in terms of getting your tickets, because if you don't already have an account, you have to create an account through Civic Rec, then you can purchase your ticket. But that's the only additional barrier that would happen. So for our residents that already take all of our classes, it'll be just like registering for a class. But for anyone outside of the community who maybe hasn't taken something with us, that'll be a few extra steps for them. But on the upside, it's going to make it easier for the residents. Actually, that was it on Independence Day.
Matthew, can I just ask you to go back to the calendar?
Sure.
I just had a couple questions about that. So I think last year we didn't have a meeting in August. Are we
Correct.
having a meeting in August this year
So that would
for
be
summer vacation? Mm-hmm.
That would be up to the commission. If the commission wants to vote at the next meeting to cancel any of those meetings, we certainly can. Or if there's just a head nod now that you want to cancel anything, we could do that. But as of now, we were planning on continuing with the July, August, and then picking back up in October. But again, if the commission wants to skip any of those, we can certainly do so.
No meetings in July and August?
So there will be, tentatively right now, we will have a meeting in July and August, skip September, and then come back in October.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But if the commission chose to remove any of those meetings, I would recommend that it's by a vote at the next meeting. So you wouldn't be able to skip July. But we could certainly skip August if that's.
It is, in terms of Labor Day, Is it possible to do the following week for a meeting, September 8th?
It is
Monday?
not
No?
customary,
Oh, I
and
see.
typically the Mondays are harder because there are other commissions.
On that day, okay, okay. Mhm.
Yes. So yes, we could do a special meeting, but typically we recommend just skipping that month altogether.
You need a motion on that, or are you just wanting our approval?
So for the August, if we're wanting to cancel the August meeting, we can bring that up.
In July?
In July.
Okay, gotcha. So July is, what date is it?
It would be July 7th, I believe.
Got it. Okay. Oh, yeah, because the 4th is on, okay.
And in terms of the rollout for the Teen Ambassador Program, I remember there was a crunch time for us last summer when we
Yeah.
tried to get those
So-
applications out. So are we planning to do in September?
So my
When school starts?
recommendation would be that we can bring back what we did last year with like minor edits in terms of dates and timeline at the July meeting. And my recommendation would be to make any final edits as a commission at that point and then assign 2 people like you did last time to work with the staff directly to then release it in September, as you mentioned.
Actually, I was just about to say that. I don't know if we needed a motion to continue it, or do we need to have to vote on it for us to proceed with the Teen Ambassador Program? Or
Sure, so that would just be during the annual work plan discussion. So in July, you'll move that back onto the current items, and then at that time, you will vote to assign 2 committee members, if you will, from the commission to work on that project.
For example, the only worry that I have now is especially that you mentioned at the calendar that even if there's a slim chance that there might be a possibility that August might not be happening, and I remember the last time we had a crunch time with getting the teen ambassadors. Is it okay if we decide on it right now, just at least that specific point? Do we have to put up a motion to discuss it?
As much as I would love to, we've already skipped the annual work plan item. So since we're at staff comments, we wouldn't be able to vote on anything at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we can make sure to call it out at the July meeting. So with that, that's the only staff comments that we have at this time.
All right, adjournment. The next regular Community Services Commission meeting will be held on Monday, July 7th, 2025 at 6:30 PM.
Can I actually, just because we do have these certificates of recognition for our teen ambassadors, this one was for Miss Angie Fan, and the other was for Miss Carly Zhao. They were 2 youth ambassadors that started this year, early this year, and they were fantastic, both equally fantastic. I just wanted to read for the record that we are offering them a certificate of recognition in recognition of their dedication to the Community Service Commission. The mayor and the city of San Gabriel wishes to thank them for their contributions within their capacity as youth ambassadors towards enriching the lives of residents. Thank you both for your invaluable service to the San Gabriel residents. And this was presented on this day, June 2nd, 2025.
All right, adjournment. The next regular Community Services Commission meeting will be held on Monday, July 7th, 2025 at 6:30 PM. Information regarding matters to be considered at each meeting will be available on the Friday before the Community Services Commission meeting on the city's website at www.sangabrielcity.com. This regular meeting is now adjourned at